Welcome back to my workshop again. I'm working on the blade right now. I've just started the forge. I got the piece of iron, a piece of steel inside of it. It's already the same thickness I need for the actual hidden blade. I just need to make the shape, grind it out, and we're going. I welded a little bit of rebar onto the actual blade so that I can hold it a little easier. But that's what I'm doing today, is I'm just going to be working on that knife.
Alright, so I'm trying something a little new today with my editing. It's going to be a little bit different. I'm just trying to not make you suffer like I did going through everything. So right now, I'm just kind of forging it a little bit. Doesn't take long. The actual piece of metal that I started out with was basically the thickness for the hidden blades, so it just maybe, needed to be shortened or thinned a little bit, so that's all I'm doing here. And it doesn't take too long. Hopefully you guys can hear my voice all right. It's the first time I'm trying this. I'm not going to mute the audio track on this stuff when I'm doing it at normal speed. So this is what my workshop sounds like, basically at all times. That's why I always wear earbuds. Yeah, just flattening it out a little. And now after I'm done that, basically all I do is I'm normalizing it. So what that means is I'm just kind of heating it up and letting it cool down at a regular temperature. Alright, now here, what I'm doing is basically just leaving it out, making sure it's flat, and then, as you can see, I'm going to place the 3D printed template onto the actual metal there. And this way I can just make sure that everything I'm grinding away is actually what's required. So I'm just spray painting it so that I can grind away all the stuff that, doesn't need to be there. There's some easier ways, or not easier, but there's some other ways to do this, but that's the easiest way I've found. Really nothing exciting talking about this, just basically grinding down the shape of the blade. So anyway, how is your day going? You doing well? I really appreciate all the support people have been giving in these videos, comments. Makes a world of a difference to somebody who is just starting out with this. I always try to be a positive person, and the feedback that I've gotten and the, I guess, acceptance that I've gotten from people and their joy in sharing what I'm doing, it makes it all worth it. Now, one thing I will have to mention is a hidden blade like this it might be prohibited weapon or a prohibited item in your country you're in. So this thing is just for educational purposes. Will not be sold, will not be given to anybody. It's going to be stored disassembled so that nothing, it can't be used. It's just a fun project for me to use. There's something new to try my hand out. When I started this project, I thought I was, going really beyond my skills. I'd never tried anything like this in the past. And this was, it was exciting. I cut off that little end there just to make it smaller and finish grinding those last little bits. I hope the shorter edits for the grinding and everything make a bit of a difference, because that way you can actually see it at, closer to full speed rather than the 2.5 hours I spend doing it. It's not the end of the world, but so for these little intricate parts, all I really have is a Dremel with some carving bits. So that's all I'm using. You can make some really intricate and fantastic stuff with, simple rudimentary tools. I could have done this with files if I wanted to too, but I've got a Dremel, so I might as well use it. But if you don't have a Dremel, you can still just use a file, cheap set of metal files from Amazon. It would take longer, but you can still do it. You always want to be careful with this stuff too. You don't want to put your fingers too close to that spinning bit. It can cause quite a bit of damage if you do it. This project took a lot longer than I expected. I mean, I'm not the fastest blacksmith yet, so everything that I do still takes a lot longer than it takes, you know, a practiced blacksmith. But I wasn't expecting it to take like 2.5 like full mornings, work evenings sometimes, and this is when I do this stuff. Is, you know, I spend the morning in the workshop. All I'm doing here, checking that the actual template matches. You know, it's not going to be perfect, but it'll be close enough, right? So that's all we really need. Here, I'm just marking the actual knife with my little drill press there. It's not a great drill press, but it does good enough job for marking. It's mostly used for wood, so I'm not expecting it to like go through the steel or anything. I'm just using it to mark the spot where I actually need to start drilling. You notice there's a little groove in that blade, and that all needs to get put in there. So that's what I'm doing next. I'm gonna skip past a lot of this though, because this is a lot of just grinding that little section out, and it took, I think, 1.5 hours of doing it. I probably should have done something a little bit better than using freehanding it. I made a template or something like that that I could follow, but I didn't think of it until right now. So that's what I'm gonna do next time. I apologize for that little blurry camera right there. I thought I had focused it, but I guess when I started, I lost focus. But I'm just skipping through a little bit too, because you know, you don't need to watch this entire hour and a half, however long it took me to do it. Section of drilling out this thing. You can see I skipped ahead a little bit more. I got that first little top section out. I went from there and then just slowly went along the line, taking out little bits of metal at a time until, well, it was all gone. Anyway, even though I was way out of my depth on this project, you know, I still really enjoyed it. It was really good doing something new that I'd never tried before. Always good to expand your wheelhouse a little bit. You can tell it's not the straightest line, but you know, it worked well enough, especially for my purposes. Like, this isn't something that needs to be perfect, right? Like, it looks cool, it works, that's all that matters, right? I don't need it to be perfectly straight, but obviously something to work on for next time.
All right, so I've got the blade done, mostly. Give it a nice little profile. I haven't sharpened it yet because I still need to harden this thing, and this is where it could all screw up and go poorly. This little groove in the middle here cuts down on the weight, but also might make it warp. So I'm gonna harden this thing, and let's hope everything goes well. So I think it went well. Let me bring you over to the vise here. I've got it clamped in here. It's already basically cool to the touch. I think it didn't warp. I won't know for sure until after. If there's a little bit of a warp, then that's okay. A little bit of a warp I can grind out. A big one, and I gotta start over. So here's hoping that it works out mostly well. I'm gonna leave it in this vise for the next hour or so just to make sure it's completely cool. And then I'm gonna temper it, and if there's any warp after it's tempered, hopefully I can just take it out a little bit. Otherwise, I guess the next video is going to be me doing this again and trying it again. Because I am out of time for today. So I'll see you next time. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe. If you have any ideas for future products, if you have any ideas for things I could have done better on this one, let me know. And as always, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.